So Scott, you have an interesting background, and we have some overlap in terms of education and things like that we'll talk about in a few minutes. But you are a designer like me, industrial design background. Tell to us a little bit about what your focus is in terms of designing for exhibits internationally.
Gotcha. Yeah, so just in general, the way that we approach design is a little bit different than some of the other folks out there, many of the stand builders and other folks. You know, I would say that the most unique element of how we approach things is we take as the primary focus the engagement of the space, right? We don't start with the architecture. You know, the architecture is a result of many steps that we take before that. So our philosophy is all about how do we convince someone to take that step off the aisle into the booth space. And without that, you know, you can have awesome architecture, you can have a beautiful stand. It's not going to really make much difference.
So would that fall in the category of like theme development as well? And how much is theming an important aspect of what you do, or getting the big idea crafted correctly?
The big idea is huge. It's a big part of it. But many times the big idea is a framework for us internally to work through. Ultimately, the big idea becomes what we call the key takeaway. And that's the thing that we want people to remember after they leave the show floor. And for them to have those personal interactions, for them to learn and remember, firstly, they have to be incentivized to come into the space for some reason. And then once that happens, then the brand ambassadors can take over. Many times what we do is also give a script to the brand ambassadors, like what are we actually talking about at point A, point B, point C? How is the customer journey playing out? And how is that teaching the visitors something?
In terms of just the ideation process itself, do you generally talk us through a little bit about how you work with your team? And is it on paper, on whiteboard, whatever, or you guys just go directly into computer-generated models, looking at the space, traffic flow, all that? How do you start that process?
Gotcha. Pinterest boards. Typically, that's how we start. Because ultimately the way that we approach it is looking at the brand and what the brand stands for, what the objectives are at the show, who the personas are, like who are the people that we're actually trying to talk to, what are their motivations. Many times what we'll do to create the strategy portion is purchase industry research. So we'll pay, good money for very valuable industry research so that we can use that as the basis for the way that we structure the strategy. Like, that way we are on top of the trends that are happening in the industry. Because when it comes to, telling a story at the show, a convincing story begins with change. And that change is where we begin the process. Like, what is the change in the industry, and how is our client adapting to or out in front of that change? What are they doing to help their customers deal with the change that's happening in the industry? There's change happening all around us. So the industry research helps us focus in on what that is, and then we structure the strategy around that to position our client as let's say a leader in the forefront of helping the clients deal with the change that's happening. And once we do that portion, then we get into the portion of how do we put this together in a compelling way. Many times the change can be something which is maybe hard to understand at first glance, so we try and simplify and distill what those messages are and get people interested and put them into the story. Like, oh yes, me as a visitor visiting a stand, they understand my problems. Like, this is interesting to me, I want to know more.
Yeah, so understanding the persona of the visitor is important. In terms of what clients ask for in briefings, do you find that they often are asking for things that are not realistic, or they're asking for something and they don't really know what they need?
Many times the clients really don't have a firm grasp on what they need. There'll be a portion will be like that, and then another portion of clientele will have they've been going to shows for X number of years, and they say, okay, great, we need this, and this. When really you look at it and you're like, okay, well, how has your trade show program been working for you? Let's look at the number of leads that you're capturing per show. Is that where you want to be, or do you need more? So many times what we see is that, like, hey, a client might come in and be like, I want to win an award. I want the award for the best looking stand at the show, because we find that, like, it's kind of a contest with many event coordinators and CMOs and marketing folks. When really, is that your end goal? Is that what you're really trying to achieve, right? Are those your business objectives or your personal objectives? So we try and delve into some of that and help our clients understand that it's super important to be laser focused on your goals and not, keeping up with the Joneses, right? I mean, you want to look good at the show, but you don't want that to take the place of real engagement. And I'll give you an example. Here at the show, I was walking through, and there was one stand. I'm not going to mention their name, but their stand did not look that great. It was just very kind of, it was just simple. There's not much going on, but they did have a very cool engagement there. They said, "Hey, come smell this thing," right? And so they had like a hood there, and you kind of peek your head underneath, and they make floor coverings and wall coverings. I couldn't help myself. I'm like, I must smell that thing.
Was it a pleasant experience?
It was. It smelled really good, right? It was like this kind of flowery, potpourri smell. But
does that mean people like get on the floor and smell their flooring?
Well, what? Luckily, they didn't have it on the floor there. They had it actually, more at eye level. But what it ends up doing is if you use it as wall covering or use it as flooring, like, it's really interesting in the fact that you actually can touch and smell how real this product is. And the reason that I bring that up is just that, like, that was a very cool engagement that me personally walking by got me super interested in what they were doing, even though the stand design was nothing special.
Yeah, and you're still remembering it.
Yes,
talking about it.
absolutely.
Now many other people are hearing about it.
Yeah.
Well, there's what in the vein of briefings with clients, what they're asking for, and that sort of thing. What about mistakes that you've seen people make that are either common mistakes that they do all the time, or just some of the bigger mistakes, especially when it comes to doing international work?
Okay. Yeah. You mean like when it comes to the design of the stand itself?
Yeah.
Okay.
The design or implementation of
Gotcha.
how they, stage themselves or their
All right.
situation.
I'll give you two examples. Okay. One is in Hall 12. It was a beautiful stand, just gorgeous. Okay. Every detail spot on, photographed nicely, just beautiful colors. The fit and finish was just awesome. Okay. I look into the stand, and the halls are full of people, but I look into the stand, it's completely empty except for one person on their phone. And I look at that, and to me, it's sad.
Yeah.
It's such a waste of time, energy, effort, and it just goes to show you can design the most beautiful stand in the world. It doesn't do the job. It's not enough. It's not enough to get people in. It's not enough to get people interested. It's not enough to get people talking about your product or learning about your product. To me, it's almost a form of vanity. And like I say, yes, you have to look good, but there has to be more. So that's one example. The other example is a bit simpler. This was a bamboo manufacturer. So they don't actually manufacture bamboo, but they manufacture, they do store design and fixtures, furniture for retail spaces out of bamboo. Okay, and they had some examples of their bamboo there. But then you look at the stand, and the counters and walls were built from fabric with bamboo printed on it.
And no actual.
But no actual bamboo building the stuff. So I'm thinking to myself, if I were the client coming up here and thinking that this bamboo was a cool and an interesting way to bring some natural elements into my store, I'm thinking to myself, well, if it's not good enough for you, why is it good enough for me? Instead of using the bamboo, they were just printing bamboo. So I thought it was, a huge missed opportunity, and I still am mystified by it.
Yeah, it is amazing what people do at times that's really crazy or stupid. What about lighting? What kind of role do you think lighting plays in the design of an exhibit or space?
Huge. Probably the biggest. Okay, I'll tell you this. I don't care how beautiful your stand is, if it's poorly lit, it's not going to look good.
Yeah.
Okay, and even if you have some very simple design, not much to it, just maybe some fabric walls, if you have good lighting in there, it's going to look nice. You're going to outshine your neighbors. That's why I enjoyed walking through the stands in 11 and 12. Many of them actually are lighting manufacturers, so they have lots of lightings, and they turn the hall lights off, the overhead, and you can really see how much proper lighting creates interest, creates drama. It's just one of the most important things that clients can invest in, rather than investing in who knows what, another graphic, another this. Get some good lighting.
Yeah, well, I agree. So I'm glad that you said that, because I think lighting, you can take something that's not that interesting and light it well, and just really change the whole atmosphere around it.
Yeah.
It's really attractive.
I'll give you an example. I would say it's probably my favorite engagement of the show was in that area where there's lighting. And so this company, they make specific lights for supermarkets. They make a light that shines on bread. They make a specific, what they call a module, that shines on vegetables or meat. And so at the corner of their space, they had a table, maybe 1 by 1 meter. And it had a grid of spices on it in these bowls. And the spices were all different colors, textures. It was just so bright. It smelled really good. It was just this beacon right there at the corner of their stand. And I couldn't help myself. I went on there and I was like, wow, this is so cool. I looked at the table. Okay, on the table it's written, in English and in German. If you take, whoever takes the best picture of these spices and post it to Instagram with a specific hashtag, you get tickets to a football match in Munich.
Wow.
Okay? Now, what's great about this engagement is, number one, it's using the lighting, right? That's what they do. They make lights. It's showing you how beautiful it can make these colorful spices look with their textures and colors. It's using the product as the main event. And secondly, it's simple, right? There's no complicated GUI. There's no iPad app that you're trying to figure out. And on top of that, everybody knows how to take a picture and everybody knows how to post to Instagram.
Yeah.
So it's all those things combined with the fact that, oh, now it's a contest. Oh, I'm an iPhone photographer. I'm gonna do a good job at this and get myself some tickets. So I thought it was brilliant. And it was inexpensive. They just used their own product, a grid of spices, and just had a contest for it. So I thought it was one of the best of the show, actually.
Really good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that could be applied to so many other companies and products.
It can. Many times the simplicity is the best, right?
Yep.
It's much more about the thinking behind it than the actual dollars you spend on something. You can create engagement so many different ways. It's just that you must create engagement to have a successful show.
Yeah, I think people more and more are realizing and recognizing that it is much more than just the architecture nowadays. Well, you do have a really interesting background as far as cultural experience yourself, and I'll let you talk about that a little bit. But before we do, just in terms of your view on culture now that you've moved back to the Czech Republic after living in the U.S. for some time, how are things different for you and your family than it was when you were living in the U.S.?
The world's much smaller. It's interesting, being in the USA, it's kind of like being in a fish tank. You're just surrounded by everything American. It's just very closed off in the sense that international things seem so far away. Now that I'm in Czech Republic, it's very international. The USA seems actually quite close. The wife and kids are actually there right now. They took a trip to Georgia to visit grandma and grandpa, and I took a trip out here. And the fact that, you just kind of get a broader cross-section of experience by living outside the United States. Like, for example, we were in Orange County. So, for us, it seemed like kind of every day was beautiful, but it was just kind of the same thing day after day. And it's been really wonderful kind of getting outside of that, being able to easily attend shows like this, like Frankfurt Auto Show, like other shows out there, and then be able to kind of document what's interesting and share that with our US audience who may not have had the chance to attend.
And sharing that, you have your own YouTube channel, right?
That's right. That's right. So yeah, on the Global Creative YouTube channel. So I think portions of this interview are going to be on there, as well as some other interviews that I've done with some of the exhibitors here at the show.
Well, let's talk a little bit about your background in education, where you were born. You and I went to the same school.
That's right.
Not at the same time.
Yeah.
I was gone for a long time before you got there, hence my age. But anyway, at Georgia Tech, School of Industrial Design.
That's right.
I always have a fondness for Georgia Tech people and people also with industrial design backgrounds.
Yeah. So I'm class of 2005. And the industrial design background there was good. I mean,
this made me feel way older.
Yeah.
Sorry. Go ahead.
And that's actually how I got into the experiential world. Industrial design can be quite broad. You can take it in many different directions. We had a project that was, a trade show style project. It really got me interested in the industry. And then I kind of took it from there.
Good. So tell us about your life, though, where you came from originally and where you grew up.
Gotcha. So I grew up in California, basically in a Czech household in California. So we spoke Czech at home, and then English with strangers. That was my childhood, and Czech with family and everything. So we would fly back to Czech Republic all the time, every other year or so. My grandmother was also coming and helping take care of me as a kid. So she would stay in the U.S. for long periods of time as well. I went to preschool in Czech Republic for a while as well. So that's kind of my background, kind of half Czech, half American. And my wife makes fun of me that I'm, sometimes like some cultural things like that are American I've never heard of, never seen before. So she thinks that's quite funny. But now we all live in Czech Republic, and so it's been an adjustment for us. I would say now less so than had we, let's say, for example, moved there 20 years ago, right? To me, like, the world is becoming, at least the Western world, is becoming more and more homogeneous in the sense that, now in Czech Republic and Poland and all those countries, there's big supermarkets, availability of everything that you might need is there, whereas, a while ago, that really wasn't the case.
Yeah. Yeah, I do think we do live in a flat world, but I'm sure you still see some cultural differences, though.
You do, you do. I would say especially prominent is the work culture. You know, I mean, I come from the LA agency world where, you know, at George P. Johnson, that was where I was working before, also at EWI doing automotive stuff. You know, when there was RFP time, it was, you were there all night, there ordering dinner, you were there without really questioning it. That was just part of it. So intense work hours. Whereas I think Czechs and just Europeans in general are more averse to that type of work environment. They kind of really value their personal time. So it's great on the one end, right? If you're working in that type of environment where you're not kind of expected to perform at that level. But then again, on the flip side, when you need something, you know, you're gonna have to get that person to paint your apartment, or, you know, whatever you need. You might need someone to do something for you. It's going to take a long time because they're not going to be jumping at the opportunity to work late to get your stuff done.
Yeah. Well, I guess going to school at Georgia Tech trained you well for this industry.
It did. And you too, right?
Oh, yeah. Well, that's one thing that you learn, you know, when you first go there. Besides the fact in orientation they say take a look to your left and to your right, and only one of you will graduate from here. Which
they told me that too.
Yeah. Which was scary. It kind of makes you swallow really hard and go, okay, what am I getting myself into? And it was a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. So I always, when I'm talking to people that are going to go there, I say, be prepared for it to be really hard, and then if it's not that hard, then you're great. But if it's harder than you think, then you really kind of can throw you for a loop.